Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and as many of you know who play Oldschool Runescape yesterday has pretty much been set on fire. They said they were going to be adding a map system, and they did, a really nice map system, but in doing so they also sneaked in a lot of nerfs that were never polled. These include the Void nerf, which has basically been the same for like 11 years now, Serpentine Helm, which no longer venom, so now basically this build of a defense peer, and OB peers that have more than 60 defense are pretty much dead content now, as well as Zolar Drop Table has been nerfed to the ground where it's basically not valuable anymore. And they ended up changing Wilderness, so anything you drop there will instantly show. And they ended up changing Karamja Gloves, so you can't just massively sell and make millions upon millions there. Though there still are other shops that you can still make millions upon millions, it's just slightly less than the Karamja General Store was. So they ended up making a lot of changes. Of course, one of the most controversial is the Serpentine Helm. When they tried to ease the community, their response to this was basically, yeah, everything is fine. Or they're hoping it goes down that way anyways, but World 2 still has a bunch of people rioting and Fallador and all that kind of mess. But the point of this video is to go over 3 things that you can still use your defense peer for, some of which can actually be better than some other accounts. Of course, none of these are PvP or PvM related because that all went away with Serpentine Helm. But let's start with the very first one. We have rune crafting, particularly with an Eternal Glory. This cost about 27 million right now, quite an expensive price tag. But one really nice thing about defense peers is they don't really die, even though we have a 38 million risk right now while doing rune crafting. We don't really have too much of a concern because we can't be teleblocked as long as you are a level 8 or level 38 combat or lower. It is literally impossible for you to get teleblocked. You can at 39 at Wilderness 5 if and only if they actually have 10 HP and 85 magic, and basically no account is built like that. That'd be basically a pointless account. It'd be made literally just to be able to kill someone with this. It is good to be able to use a total level world for this, of course, since less people will actually be able to reach you, and if anyone actually did make an 85 mage account like that, they probably wouldn't be able to hit you. But rune crafting, of course, is the most profitable skilling method you can do in old school RuneScape. Even at lower levels, it's not the best at lower levels, but still really solid profit that you can end up getting. It just set up your bank nice, go fill up your pouches, just keep repeating it over and over again. It's pretty nice, pretty AFK for the most part as well, and relatively safe because as I mentioned, you can't be teleblocked. So if someone starts attacking you, all you have to do is just use an Amulet of Glory. You do want to make sure your weight is at 0, so you'll probably need things like Penance Gloves, Boots of Lightness, Spider Cape, stuff like that, just to make sure that you do indeed stay below 0 or below. Because as long as you're not above 0, you won't be getting any additional reduction to your run energy. And of course, run energy is everything when you're doing rune crafting. It is advised having 70 mining and 70 agility before doing this, as well as access to the 1250 total world if you can. I normally just go into either the natures or the cosmics, because at 59 you can start doing double cosmics, and currently cosmics are actually more money than doing natures, but doing natures is slightly more EXP, and that is one good thing that we can do. And yeah, we can actually utilize this Amulet of Glory, and as I mentioned, it is slightly going down in price. It normally ranges from about 25 to 30 million. The entire economy is just a whole mess right now after all the changes. Should be relatively stable though, and definitely a must if you're going to be doing rune crafting RC. If you were to do this on an account that wasn't a defense peer, you would need to, since you can't do the drop thing anymore, because what people used to do is you could just set your def to over here, so all you'd have to do is just run back over there, hop worlds, so you go right underneath your Eternal Glory, and then just pick it right back up. So there wasn't really any risk involved with it. Now you have to use a Fallador shield and hope that they don't smite you, and it's kind of a whole mess, but defense peers don't really need to worry about dying. And if you do get hit, all you have to do is just teleport right back, boom, and then repeat it all again. And of course, you keep the Ring of Life just as a extra precaution. Maybe you lose connection or something like that. You never know. You don't want to lose like 38 million. But on to the next method now. The second thing that defense peers do pretty well in old school RuneScape, of course I'd get a random event as soon as I try doing this, really. But the second thing that they do well is Black Chins. You can do this as early as 73 Hunter. You can either take up a Games Necklace and then just run up to it, or simply take the canoe system, which is my preferred method. Just go up into the wilderness to the Black Chin spot, and just shows a little bit of animation. I believe this is quicker than a Games Necklace. I've actually never bothered checking the difference between the two. But off we are to the Black Chin spot, which is just a very short walk from there. My inventory, I normally go with 6 traps, because that's how many you'll need, or 5 if you are only 73 to 7900, because at 80 you get the second one to use. Sometimes you'll have to hit these guys as well, but just 4 Sarah Blues, just the Iron Axe to get here. Do keep in mind that things you drop do come here immediately. 2 Rings of Recoil, 1 on yourself as well as just 1 in the inventory for backup. The flowers I have for boxing purposes. I do have a magic mix. It's the only thing I really ever use that is mix related. The main reason for this is when you're in the wilderness here, the only thing that's really going to be threatening to you is magic damage, and there isn't really much a need to have Torags or anything like that. I always facepalm whenever I see anyone using Torags here. You really don't need any other defense other than magic, and doing so is kind of redundant, mainly because your defense protects you completely against melee and range attacks, but only does 30% effectiveness against magic. So you're going to need as high of a magic bonus as you possibly can. Half the stuff I'm wearing right now is best in slot. Any of the capes of Obsidian Cape or any of the achievement capes are all best in slot, since Fire Cape is no longer possible due to the Serpentine Helm Nerf. The Samurai is best in slot for the body. The legs and both the Rogue boots and legs are best in slot for magic protection for those. Helm can be better slotted with a halo, though we are in deeper than 20 wilderness, so you do not want to risk a halo, even though I have yet to ever die at chins, and especially in a total level world, it's even less likely. I haven't even been hit once in the total level worlds, but just in case, I just use the lower risk of a healer hat, because that still gives, I think it's only like a 2 lower. I have the Dragon Shield, of course, for magic protection, and just in case they're using Dragonstone E. A lot of people use Dragonstone E when they're trying to hunt here, or, trying to PvP people here, so that's pretty good to have. I do still bring the Serpentine Helm, because you never know if someone's going to just bring a random blowpipe or anything of the such, so even though it doesn't have the venom anymore, of course, that used to be used to deter them, now you can just use it for just making sure they don't venom you. Instead of bringing an anti-venom, you're still better off just bringing a Serpentine Helm, unless you actually have 75 HP for a Ring of Suffering. There isn't much. You don't want to make sure basically that you have you're not risking too much, just in case. We're only risking here 418,000, which part of that's actually our chins right now. But you don't want to risk anything more than 1,000,000, not counting your chins. As far as chins, I normally wait until I get 1,000. Of course, for the purpose of this video, I'm only going to do probably 20 here. I'm definitely not doing this that efficiently because I'm talking over it. I'm also not using the herb method. There is a way to 2-tick the trap playing and movement and all that stuff. I don't normally bother doing it because it's so much click intensive. I normally just watch YouTube while simultaneously doing this, and I'll just keep the sound on, which I don't have on at the moment, but I just keep the sound on and then just go from there. As far as what you do when you do get attacked, let me just take out this one last trap. When you do get attacked, you have 2 options. If you end up getting tele-blocked, if you don't get tele-blocked, you run down, you either just use your Amulet of Glory if you're using that, or you just use your Combat Bracelet, do that to the Monastery. Of course, if you're using a Glory or something, you would do it to the Edgeville, and you just go down to 30 Wilderness, and then you'll be able to do it there. But if you do happen to get tele-blocked, well, you obviously won't be able to teleport. So the option you will have to do is run westward over here. and make sure you have your healer helmet on if you do have that, and you'll likely have to go a little bit deeper all the way over here. And then simply, once you can get a hobgoblin on you, boom, and then just start flowering them. And if you need to go AFK for any reason or anything like that, or of course if you get teleblocked, you just do this, and then you pretty much never hit. You can still hit, but it is pretty much impossible to kill it, and it's pretty much impossible for it to kill you. So you can just wait out the tele block right here, and it'd also be a good idea to take off your Fury and Recoil and your Combat Bracelet if you could, if we actually had enough slots here. But as soon as the tele block goes off, you just teleport to the monastery with all your chins. You'll be perfectly safe, and there you go. And you just go and repeat it all again. And chins, pretty good profit. They can with better methods and higher but if you do the herb method and everything, and once you start getting closer to 99 hunter, it can be over or near 1 million gold per hour. So it's a pretty decent money-making method, and defense pures are really easy to survive there, since of course they're pretty tanky, and most things don't really bother you. Of course, they might bother you a little bit more now that Serpentine Helm can't do anything, but you can still intimidate them with Dragonfire Shield, and as I showed, there are plenty of safe methods that will make it so you basically never die. We can easily out-eat them. You may have noticed I didn't really go over, but I'm using the cooked karamba with shark combo. Most of you know this, but there isn't a tick delay when you end up doing that, and you can eat them really quick compared to other combinations of foods. And I just have the magic mix just because, well, for the extra little bit of magic protection, just so we don't get tele-blocked, or if they're like barraging us or something, just so they don't hit it as much. And I have it as a mix just so it gives a little bit of HP, because you only need to use this like once every single time. So just having it give HP, you don't really need like 4 doses of a magic potion. You might as well get some HP out of it. But on to the final method. And the last thing that defense pures can still do pretty well, even without venom on the Serpentine Helm, is the minigame of Barbarian Assault. You can just use the Barbarian Assault teleport here, or you can use simply a games necklace, and that'll bring you right down there. And yes, this minigame is pretty easy for defense pures, mainly because the only 2 stats you really need within the minigame is HP and armor. And as far as combat training on a defense pure, that is literally all the stats you ever get. You do use combat slightly during the attack roll, but just leveling up the attack roll and having a strength setup where you have a 43 strength or higher. 43 you'll end up getting an additional attack, and at that point you can end up hitting 7s against everything. Normally you don't do the attack roll, but if you happen to just have to get shoved on it, you do it. Then on the wave 10 you switch to healer, and then you basically just go from there. I use red machete just so we can do all attack styles, because you need all the accurate, the aggressive, controlled, and the defensive, so you don't have to switch. It is better to use RPG and then switch to, I believe, bronze darts. I normally don't bother doing that because that's just too annoying. I just stick with the machete the whole time. As far as drops, of course, you get very useful ones. Fighter hat is best in slot stab and slash. It's also second best in slot crush by only 1. The Dwarven Helmet is the best, which we can also get too as the defense pure. Torso, of course, very notorious in this game. Ends up giving a +4 strength bonus. It's also used for the diaries, though defense pure cannot get even close to doing those diaries. And you can also get things like the Penance Gloves. Penance Gloves is best in slot weight reduction for the gloves with a 4.5. And the Healer Helmet is the second best in slot, the best in slot for low risk. It has a +7 for magic protection. The best in slot, of course, is Halo with a +9. Also, real quick, they ended up nerfing Serpentine Helm, and just a comparison with the Healer Hat. Healer Hat requires 45 defense, and it has a lower magic bonus than something that requires 1 defense. Plus, Halo has prayer. It's basically the same thing that ended up happening with the Serpentine Helm compared to the Nizar Helm, or whatever that one thing is called. There's basically the same difference between a Healer Hat and a Halo, so that's a bit annoying, but still, it's low risk. It's pretty easy to get this thing. And yeah, so let me go show some of the rewards here. You can end up winning if you're just casually going in here with randoms who end up leaving a lot, you'll likely only be able to afford 1 high risk per hour, or high gamble, I mean. If you are doing it with a team that actually knows what they are doing, they can easily do 2, possibly even 3 per hour. And if you're doing it with a team that is selling torsos, it's a little bit hard to try to find these kind of groups, but you can end up making over 2 million per hour with these people, because people tend to buy torsos for about 10 million to 20 million because they need that for the diary. They either do that because they don't want to learn how to do this minigame or for whatever reasons, and they just have a lot of cash stack, so they just invest in getting a torso done in an hour. And if you can ever find yourself into one of those groups, it pays over 2 million per hour, plus you're still getting your points. And I last tested this about a month ago, and it came out to about 111,000 gold per drop, though the drops are pretty random. There is a pet as well at a 1 out of 1,000, D-chain at like 1 out of 16,000, and drops for general are kind of dated from this, but let me go just show a couple, just so you guys kind of know what these high gambles actually are. Oh yeah, let's just pick a roll. Healer, what's our prize? What do we get? We get... come on, go through. Okay, I got a space bar. So, 265 bloods. Let's just do a double, because this is basically how much you would get per hour. Of course, this is only a single test. As I mentioned earlier when I did the data about a month ago, it came out to about 111,000. That was my 22nd roll right there. But let's see, what does this come out to? That comes out to a lot. Oh no, that's about it. That's about 10,000 lower than the other one. Let's do 2 more just to get better data. Not like that will really help much more, but let's go use our collector roll. Oh yeah, I forgot. You have to keep clicking it. The whole interface for this is pretty dated. Oops, I didn't even click the right one. Oh well. What do we get? What do we get? Oops, I didn't even see. I clicked through it so far. Oh, dragon, black d'hide. I think that's going to go up because now, or maybe down, because dragons are going to be done more now that Zolor got nerfed. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll just do it off our collector roll, and that'll be our final test for that then. And then snapdragons, and then if we just throw that in, that ends up being, whoa! That would be a really good hour if we end up doing that. Whoa! That would have been 376,000 an hour. Of course, this isn't huge money. 376,000 in an hour is actually relatively low. Pretty much anything below, I'd say, like 800k per hour while doing, well, for no EXP, anything under 1 million per hour for 0 EXP is actually pretty bad. But, yeah, I mainly just do this minigame for fun, but I did want to mention it as, I don't know, I really enjoy this minigame, and it is one that defense pures can obviously do pretty well, as the only 2 stats you really need is defense and HP. So, I figured I start it at the, or end it at the middle of the follow door square. Can't talk, gosh. A lot less people than earlier. There was literally at least like 300-400 people here. You couldn't even see further than like 5 squares away from you because there were so many cannons, so much everything going on here. It is not peak time though. It's like the middle of the night right now, but we still have people. There's somebody who even brought up the pug, or what's his name, Sirpugger, ended up spending 500 hours building a defense pier, and then boom, nerfed it like immediately. I'm actually not too worried though. Defense pures make for really good skillers, which is something I was already doing with this. So as I mentioned, I already covered a bunch of things that you can do, and that's not even anything, that's just the things that defense pures tend to be particularly excelling at. Of course, there's plenty of other small things where you do gain a little bit of a benefit having a higher just durability, just so you don't die as much. But that will pretty much wrap it up. If you guys have any other questions about defense piers or anything, I do still build them. It is something I've pretty much always done through all of RuneScape. I used to have a summoning pier way back in the day. I ended up making it into a ranged tank, and then I completely regretted it. So even though they ended up completely nerfing out defense piers, I do advise keeping your defense pier. It's you never know, things may change in the future that may bring them back into viability, and I don't know, I just like having them. And I know from last time I really regretted when I ended up shifting my defense pier into a different build. So I am definitely not going to be doing that. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have fun still with your defense piers for any of you out there. And yeah, as someone just mentioned earlier, it does take about 500 to 600 hours to even build an account like this. It's mainly AFK though, because you only need to click like 1 or 2 hours. I just did it while streaming. But yeah, that's a lot of time to just go straight down the drain, even if it was completely AFK. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.